Okay, so we learned that the Native Americans trickled down from the Arctic and subarctic into the United States. They spread all over the country and were living the life until, boom, European settlers forced them out of their land. We learned of the natives who were forced out of South Dakota because there was gold, and of course, the Battle of Little Bighorn, where natives struck back and actually defeated the U.S. Army. And the truth is, Native Americans were able to live the rest of their lives totally happy and free without bother or pain or sadness or death, and I'm lying. The natives had it horrible. And before we learn more about the European settlers, let's talk about one more big event, the Trail of Tears. This is a trail where people got shampoo in their eyes and it burned so bad it was named the Trail of Tears, and I'm lying. Again. So the natives in the Battle of Little Bighorn story won, but even though they won the battle, it didn't matter. They were still going to be treated horribly for the rest of their lives. And the Trail of Tears story is probably one of the times they were treated the worst. The Trail of Tears was when the United States government forced Native Americans to move from their homelands in the southern United States to Indian Territory in Oklahoma. Doesn't sound so bad, right? Big road trip into a new land with all your friends? Wrong. I'm lying. Again. And again. Native people from many tribes were marched at gunpoint across thousands of miles to these reservations. Some traveled by wagon, but most traveled by foot. But realize this. This was a few years before the Battle of Little Bighorn. And in this region of the United States, Native Americans went to school, had their own businesses, and everything seemed fine. So now think to yourself, why were they moved from this land? What could the U.S. government possibly want from these people? Take 10 seconds. Okay, did you guess gushers? Did the U.S. government want gushers? No! The answer is no. They found gold. Shiny, sparkly, expensive gold. Andrew Jackson was president at the time. He's the guy on the $20 bill. Looks like a nice guy, right? Wrong. I lied. Again. And again. He was mean. Real mean. Real mean. He wanted something called ethnic cleansing. And he had his eyes set on cleansing the South. Jackson signed a law that forced the Cherokee people to move. This was called the Indian Removal Act. However, at the time, the Cherokee had their own nation and their own government. They didn't have to follow laws made by the United States. But Jackson was like, I don't care, get out. And the Cherokees were like, but we're nice and we have our own laws and freedom, and I don't care, get out. The Cherokee Nation didn't want to accept these laws or the Indian Removal Act, so the Cherokee chief, John Ross, decided to try to defend the Cherokee rights through the United States courts. And in 1832, the Supreme Court said that the Cherokee were living in their own nation. And they didn't have to listen to Andrew Jackson. And they didn't have to move. Awesome, right? They get to stay. Wrong. I'm lying. Again. And again. With Jackson taking the lead, the U.S. government used a treaty called the Treaty of New Echota to remove the Cherokee Nation by force. This treaty meant that the native peoples would trade all of their perfect land in the South for really bad land in Oklahoma. Plus, they would get $5 million. The Cherokee people were divided by this treaty, but eventually a majority agreed on it. They thought they had a sweet deal. They get a ton of money, a nice new house, and a personal escort to their new home. Wrong. Again. And again. And again. 7,000 soldiers forced about 17,000 Native Americans at gunpoint to leave their land. All the natives had to leave their homes right away. Within 3 weeks, the natives were all forced into internment camps. They were forced to stay in these camps for the summer of 1838. Sounds fun, right? All your friends and family at a big sleepaway camp? Wrong. It was horrible. 353 Cherokee people died from dysentery and other diseases. Eventually, their journey continued. The trip was over 5,000 miles long, and during the trip, the Cherokee had to deal with winter weather, blizzards, and a ton of diseases. It's believed that during this trip, 4,000 to 6,000 natives died in one of the worst events in American history. These events and the ideas of Andrew Jackson heavily influenced an idea to white settlers at the time. That idea was manifest destiny. But we'll learn about that another time.